My name is Dorothy de Beck, daughter of the great departed fighter ace Guillaume de Beck. My friends call me Didi. Actually, when all this began back in July 41, I had only one friend, Tommy Carter. He'd flown with my father in the Great War. Tommy raised me. He joked that God had forgotten to give me feathers. On my 14th birthday, he told me, "I've never known anyone so uncomfortable on the ground, but so at peace in the air." I probably shouldn't have been flying at that age, but Tommy didn't seem to care. He wanted to teach me, and I wanted to learn. Tommy and I had survived well enough back then. We smuggled, bartered, and stole, taking any job that required a pilot. But the war changed everything. The world was on fire and the flames were closing in around us. The skies were no longer safe. But Tommy was right about me. There was no way I was staying on the ground.
You're back. How's it look?
It looks very much as though we should be minding our own business, Tommy.
The group leader's offer is generous. And Didi, this is war. It affects us as much as anyone else if the fascists gain power.
I'm a smuggler, Tommy. A profiteer, not a folk hero. This isn't like your last war. This is altogether messier. I'm approaching Tobruk, and any fool who shoots me down also destroys 12 cases of single malt. That would be a tragedy.
Didi, your father, he would say to fight.
My father is dead, Thomas. Over and out.
Okay, Didi, just bring your bus down into Tobruk. Try not to attract too much attention, okay? We'd hate to lose that Van Blanc Anglaise. Sorry, Didi. You can't land yet. You're gonna have to plug those Luftwaffe planes. Here, the group leader wants a word. As a gesture of goodwill, I've arranged a little surprise for those Jerrys. If you need help, head toward the marked ambush point. McIntyre out. You heard the man. Act like a mouse, bag yourself a cat. well. Of course, I expected no less of a Debek. The group leader flew with your father, Didi. I need good pilots, Mr. Big. I have squadrons trained in aerial combat, but sometimes the war effort requires more finesse. You will be well paid for your services, I can assure you. Money, Didi. We could hire that Aussie Akemmer I mentioned. Can't fly if your wings are broken.
If I agree, will you let me land? Our resources dwindling, Tommy and I decided to recruit a maverick mechanic called Clive Greer, an Australian by birth, a wanderer by inclination, a drunk by character. No one else would take him, and he took pay in whiskey, which worked well for us at the time. I didn't expect a neatly pressed uniform and a brisk salute, but Clive still came as a shock. His overalls looked as though they'd been dragged down the runway and back, and he smelled as though he drank more fuel than he had put in the planes. But for all my misgivings, there was something about him that appealed. Like us, he was an outsider, a reject, trapped in the middle of somebody else's war. Give him a weekend and a pile of scrap and Clive can make a bathtub fly rings around a Messerschmitt, Tommy promised. And, like a good girl, I trusted his instincts. For better or worse, we had our mechanic.
Ahmed has contraband for us, some motor parts. Clive can use a few and we can flog the rest. Ahmed's waiting at the usual rendezvous point, but the sky's thick with Luftwaffe. Fly low, stay out of sight, okay?
That is you? Quickly land, and do not be seen. I cannot trust anybody. There are enemies all around.
You would sound paranoid, Ahmed, except that you're absolutely correct. They've seen me.
Jig's up then. Looks like it's a fight. Nice work, Didi.
Aye, aye. I heard a furphy that someone brought me some bits and pieces. Nice going, boss.
Grim news, Mr. Beck. Reports of Nazi spies operating on the southeast of Tobruk. It would seem that they're part of our resupply difficulties.
It would certainly explain the recent Luftwaffe presence.
Precisely. A direct assault could get bloody. But if you can find their hideout, you can take them out cleanly. Months ago, I flew over a small oasis in that area. Might be worth checking out.
something. Yes, this is it. You were right, Tommy.
If anyone tries to escape, stop them, Debec. We can't afford to lose them now.
Got one, and there's another.
Don't let those spies escape.
That's the second. But, damn it, I see planes. The others must have been distractions.
Bring them down, Debec.
That's one.
Got to down them all. Keep at it. Done, Dee. That saved our bacon for the time being. Indeed. Bacon saved, Mr. Beck. We get our supplies, and the Rommel will be forced to reevaluate. Is the whiskey worth the risk, Dee?
The booze is a bonus, Tommy. Ahmed will owe us big if we pull this off.
Stay clear of the Luftwaffe until you have the goods. You may have to fight your way back.
Quickly! Quickly! They will find me for sure.
You've got trouble, Didi. A Nazi ground patrol is homing in on your signal.
I'm completely in your hands.
You'd better deal with those Nazis, Didi.
That's one.
My gratitude, Didi. If you need anything, you need only ask.
Glad to help, Admiral. And our boys back in Tobruk will thank you too.
The Axis forces are run on oil. All their fuel depots are heavily guarded. ACACs, fighters, nothing you can't handle. And I've already negotiated with the group leader for a cash bonus for taking the lead on this one. You'll be paid, but you're not my priority. I'm short of planes, and I have to keep the bombers in the air. Good work, Tobruk. you soon. With new intelligence, Tobruk. Seems that there's a Jerry convoy in the area. They're extracting key personnel from installations you're attacking. It's brutal, but we cannot allow that convoy to survive. My bombers should be with you at any moment. They're all I have, so please try to keep them aloft. We can't afford to lose even one.
Understood.
Good work, Didi. That can't have been easy. Good work, Tobruk. That's another knee to the Nazi bollocks.
Group Captain Gerald McIntyre had been a friend of my father's, or so he said. Maybe his willingness to hire me was in memory of that friendship. Working for McIntyre had its advantages, but I'd found that men of high office often had low morals. I bristled at being so easily pulled into the British military machine. I was being used, but for as long as I benefited, I could live with it, and I needed money to stay in the sky. Every night we drank in makeshift bars. Clive would regale us with news from the grapevine, painting an ominous picture of Rommel closing his fist around Tobruk. Clive was extremely keen for us to move on. Tommy, perhaps nostalgic for his glory days, wanted us to stay. I had no desire to leave lucrative work behind, but the atmosphere was changing every day, choking the life from the city. One way or another, I sensed our time here was running short.
Boss, do you read me? I got myself some aggro, I need to bail out. I can't talk now, but I'll leave the channel open. You can ride a beam, or you can leave me to myself. It's your call.
Clive? Clive? Tommy, Clive's in trouble. See if you can find anything out, please.
Will do.
Tommy, I've traced the signal back to a Nazi listening post. Shit! I've got echoes.
Take him out, Dee Dee. Looks like Clive has been dealing with the Sanusi, trying to make a little on the side. These Saharan smugglers can be bad news, Dee Dee, so watch yourself.
Bloody Clive. I think I see him. All clear for landing. You've got your head up and locked, Greer.
Sorry I'm a drongo. I tried to play both sides, and I got caught up in the middle. I only got one extra passenger. This is my new mate, Dave.
There's no time for introductions. Let's get the hell out of here. Shut up. We left Tobruk under cover of darkness, stomachs knotted with fear and worry. The truck bumped along dirt roads, while my thoughts churned. Ahmed was relocating us to Azerbaijan. Clive still had contacts there. I felt powerless, my destiny controlled by others. Resting my head on Tommy's shoulder, I closed my eyes and dreamt of happier times. As a girl, I would gratefully put aside my wrench and oil can at the end of each day and listen to the stillness, feeling the early evening sun on my skin, hearing the birds sing to each other. Nights were a time for warm bread, chilled wine and stories. My favorites were Tommy's tales of his time flying alongside my father, a man who I only ever knew through legend and hearsay. I can't sleep. Tommy, tell me about Constantinople again.
Constantinople?
Yes. I knew Didi's father there. He was a dashing figure. All the lads respected him. We both flew in the naval barrage of Constantinople. The Battle of Gallipoli in 1916. We were in different squadrons, but if you flew, you knew the name of Lieutenant Guillaume de Bec. I was a young man then. My third combat flight, something like that. Your father was a hero to the lads, a decorated ace with a dozen kills to his name. He'd been shot down at least 3 times before Constantinople, so he thought he was invincible. And so did he, often trying to draw crabs to keep the other boys safe. Our first job was to locate artillery targets. I always tried not to think about what happened on the ground. We spotted the targets the brass picked out. Those targets were shelled. And the men down there, doing their job, hoping against hope. We would never see them. Just our pilot's view of the patchwork war raging beneath us. And we pointed the finger and people died. Your father, Guillaume de Bec, he must have had thoughts like those. Thoughts of who he was killing. He'd play at dogfights and sometimes shoot the enemy down, but you could tell his heart wasn't in it. He'd do what he had to do. Once the ground targets were smoked, we were to check the beaches for a suitable landing point for the Anzacs.
Oh yeah, bring on the diggers. What was it about? Constantinople, I mean.
About? It was about removing Turkey from the war. If we'd taken Constantinople, well, things would have been different, I suppose. It didn't quite go to plan. The mission didn't exactly go to plan either. We took a lot of hits. Well, a lot of men died that day. Something like 250,000 on either side through the entire Dardanelles campaign. third waypoint along the beach when I saw it happen. Still playing with flak, Guillaume lost an engine and began to dive towards the sea. I couldn't hear him then, but I knew he'd shout out what he always said when he took his whiskey, or when his plane was hit.
Tally-ho, into the drink again.
She knows that line.
I know that line.